Hi, everyone, and welcome to Conscious Combos, our very first live stream. We're going to be live streaming every Saturday. It's probably going to be around 3 o'clock. However, I unfortunately didn't have the live stream set up in time to be able to do it at 3 today. I'm April, and I have both a bachelor's and master's degree in psychology, specialization in ABA, and I did at one point earn my BCBA. I've since let that lapse after I got burned out, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. Now, I decided to do Conscious Convos because I have been struggling a lot lately. Um, I've just been angry about things that other people have been doing. And one of the very first things that is emphasized in psychology is you can only control what you yourself do. And so when you go to therapy, it's typically about figuring out what your part is in something and what you can do about it. For me, it was actually the opposite. It was starting to take some of that self-blame off of me. Um, but that still didn't do anything. That made me completely powerless in my relationships. It made me completely powerless in situations that have gone awry. When the truth is that I really didn't have control over what the other person was doing and what they did to cause it. I only had control over my reaction, but I was taking responsibility for more. And for me, sitting back and doing nothing is just not an option. So, what I've really decided is I want to start to share my knowledge as somebody with multiple degrees in psychology and just to share my journey of self growth. And I'll share some of the strategies that I've used. I can help you to get to know yourself a little bit better, maybe help you improve some of your relationships. So today we're going to be talking about authentic living and self-discovery. Authentic living is the practice of being true to one's genuine self, values, and beliefs, aligning internal identity with external expression. And so this was a huge part of the issue for me and why I ultimately left behavioral therapy. For me, being a therapist was very much making myself into what the other person needed. And so I was having a lot of identity issues. I was having a hard time really like being authentic and genuine to who I am because I was constantly being a chameleon for clients. And I know that that's a trap that I fall into, which is why I've since left the field. But that doesn't mean that that knowledge just goes away and that I can't use it for other purposes to help educate. I'm me. And on a live stream like this, you get me as me. And so that just aligns a little bit more closely with who I am and who I want to be, rather than for me to be constantly morphing into something someone else needs to be. So the practice of authentic living also involves embracing uniqueness, making choices based on personal desires, and cultivating self-awareness. And so this is important because something that I've discovered recently is people don't always seem to be aware of what they're feeling, what they need, or why they do things sometimes. And so, like, I'm trying to analyze it, but how can I figure out what is going on with another person when they don't know? And so it's kind of ridiculous. So, like I said, we're gonna focus inward, and we're gonna look at who we are as people. So, self-discovery is the ongoing process of exploring and understanding one's own identity, values, and beliefs. And it involves introspection, reflection, and willingness to uncover hidden aspects of yourself. And it often includes gaining insights into personal strengths, weaknesses, passions, and purpose. And so for me, purpose is actually really important. Um, Otherwise, you get lost in the daily 9 to 5. You just get lost in the day to day. And what else is there? I mean, obviously, you look for things that bring you enjoyment, maybe, but it brings up these bigger questions. And, I've always had those bigger metaphysical questions. I know that not everybody does, but for me, that's where it comes from. For me, having a purpose really helps me to live a happier life. It helps me make choices that align with that purpose and with my values. And it helps me to improve my relationships and communication. If I know what I'm feeling, if I know what I think, what I want, then it's all the more easier for me to communicate it to someone else. And it's more likely that I'll get that. And the same can be true for you. So I said a few minutes ago that I got burned out working as a behavioral therapist. And I did talk a little bit about how I always felt that I had to be someone else, that I had to be who my clients wanted me to be. And it was really hard because not everybody likes everybody else. In fact, a therapist once told me that not everybody, a lot of people don't like other people. And so, like, there's going to be a lot of people that don't like you, a lot of people that aren't going to want to be your friend or be in a relationship with you based on who you are. But you know what? That's okay. The reason is because each person, I believe anyway, you have a tribe. You have people here on this earth you're meant to spend time with and that get you. And so, like, I think that's a huge part of things. But it makes things very difficult when you're working as a therapist. I'm also an adult child of an alcoholic, which I probably should have said at the beginning. And so I have a lot of perfectionistic issues. I have a lot of people pleasing stuff that, at least in my past, I'm trying to get away from that a little bit more. And since I left the field, it's been easier. But those are all challenges to being able to be a behavioral therapist. And there are a lot of things that you can't say. Like you can't be who you are. Like I'm very progressive. Um, and I'm actually going to quote one of the new shows I watch here. And I was actually just talking politics with a friend of mine, um, just before I came on here. And what I told her is what I'm going to tell you, that the host of this show says that they 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 may agree with the Democrats, they may not. They don't agree with everything, in fact, but they're very much about pro-democracy. And they are very open to talking with conservatives, and that is the case here. But it has to be about policy. So I am not going to address hateful comments. Those will be deleted. I'm not going to address anything abusive. Those will be reported. Beyond that, if you really like you want to talk about policies, or if you want to ask me questions about why I say something that may have to do with politics, that's fine. I'm happy to address it. It just needs to be related to the topic of the day. We may get to a point where we have a full Q&A section and these videos go longer, but since today's day one, we're just going to stick with questions in the comments at the end, and then I'll respond as you as you ask questions. But I am going to be bringing up political figures and showing, I may be talking about stages of morality, stages of maturity, stages of development. I may be talking about decision making that they're doing. I may talk about communication issues that they are displaying. I may talk about psychological disorders should that come up. Now, I'm going to state unequivocally that I am not qualified to diagnose like in that manner. I was taught that a psychologist or a psychiatrist does diagnosing, but that doesn't mean that we don't have a diagnosis in our head or something that goes in a file that we're aware of, kind of thing. And so, in theory, we can discuss some of that stuff, but it's not going to be an official diagnosis from a doctor, as I am not licensed. Um, but really, my reason for I want to bring that up and explain that we are going to be talking about that at times is because politics is a part of the world, and and it's a part of society, and society is a part of how we interact with one another, and it's a part of how we interact with ourselves because there are expectations there. And so worldviews, what we see in the environment, what we hear in the environment, all of these things affect who we are and how we interact with the world. And for me, it's very frustrating because a lot of the like problem behaviors that are causing problems in my relationships, I see in politicians as well. And so they're very good examples of these issues that are coming up. And so when that happens, I will absolutely be bringing them up. And they could be on either side, although there will probably be more Republicans that I will use it as bad examples, and more Democrats I will use as good examples. Does not mean that it won't be switched. And it also doesn't mean that I may not use the same person to exemplify good and bad. It's really about it's about sharing awareness. And for me, this live stream is for you, but it's also for me too, because I need a place where I can really like talk these things through. And so that's what we're gonna do. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. I guess we'll find out. So self-awareness is one other thing I wanted to add before we move on to our interactive activity is that self-awareness really helps you to recognize burnout and helps you to make those life decisions. Like for me, it was a really hard decision to leave the field, but I recognized in myself that I was burnt out. I honestly, I'm still burned out from doing that kind of work. I don't know that I could ever go back. I just don't have it in me to do it any longer. For me, it's more important to be authentic and to be genuine. And that's what I'm going to try to do here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the activity. So we're going to do an authenticity reflection exercise. I'm actually going to go ahead and put it in the chat right now in case anybody's watching. Probably not because I only have one follower, so I don't know that it's even really technically allowed to be live right now. But for when you do go through it, it's going to be in the description. So whenever you do watch the video and oh, they're making me do a verification, apparently. Okay, yeah, that's not something I'm going to be doing right now. I'm going to have to upload an ID or something, but we'll see we'll see after I finish the live stream. But let's go ahead and the link is in the description. So we'll go ahead and get started on the worksheet, and I'm going to do it. All right. I'm going to do it along with you, and we can kind of talk about that. So you're going to need a journal, some paper, or like a digital document for note taking. You're going to want to find a quiet place and just some quiet time where you can start reflecting on these things. So we're going to start by reflecting on your values. So we're going to reflect on what's important to you. For me, that's a little bit of a challenge, especially doing it live. I did not prepare as far as this because I wanted it to be live. I wanted to do this with you. I very much believe in honesty. That's something that is one of the most important things to me. I also believe in kindness. Now, that's not the same as being nice. Sometimes nice can be a little bit fake because kindness can sometimes be about being honest. So it's not just, sometimes you can be tactfully honest with somebody close to you, somebody that trusts you. and you're telling them something they need to know rather than telling them a nice lie. I would say those are some of the biggest things that are really important to me. So I would love it if you guys would share down in the comments below some of the things that you are that oh, it's not even letting me view it because I see that there are people on I see that there are people actually in the document, but it's not letting me go to the actual live stream. So I'll look at it at the end, but comment below whatever your values are, and I would love to see. And we're going to move on to identifying your passions. So we're going to talk about things that bring you joy and fulfillment. These are hobbies, interests, aspects of your work that really make you happy. For me, I am really passionate about music. I like to sing. I play the flute. I also have a pet bird that I'm really passionate about. I'm passionate about birds. And I'm passionate about this kind of stuff. We're going to also look at strengths and weaknesses. So for me, I'm actually really good at I know who I am, which may be a little bit of a cop out. But I am really good at seeing who I am. I do really know my strengths and weaknesses. So I tend to be very introspective. When I was in behavioral therapy, I was amazing at the actual ABA aspects of it, the applied behavioral analysis. I understand the theories in and out, and I have a really good instinct for that. I'm really good at reading people. I'm also very talented in music. Weaknesses wise, like I said, I used to be a people pleaser. I can be a bit of a perfectionist. And so sometimes it can just be a bit hard to, I tend to want to take on more responsibility than is mine. And so that's something that I'm really working on. And then we're going to look at influences. For me, let's see. Um, what comes to mind is like in politics, what kind of influences my beliefs, and that's Midas Touch. Like they're the main news outlet that I follow. Someday I may end up ranking the news outlets out there, like on YouTube, and weighing in on them. But as far as politics go, they definitely are a huge influence. I really love like their positive attitude about things. And instead of being depressing, it's rather optimistic. But I don't have a lot of people in my like in my personal life that do inspire and influence me. All peak experiences. So moments in your life when you felt truly alive, fulfilled, or proud. Uh, it was a hard one. So I was really proud when I got my BCBA. I passed my exam on the first try, which is a huge accomplishment. Um, when I sang my first solo, that I auditioned for, I got the solo and I sang it in concert, and it was a really big deal for me. And this wasn't as an adult. I was in my late 20s when this happened. I was in a community choir, but it was a big deal. And we're going to write a personal mission statement. And for me, my mission statement is to be honest and to be genuine. So I'm sure that there's a lot more specifics that we could get into, but this is just meant to be really short. And so I'm going to focus on that, being honest and genuine and authentic. And so then you want to periodically review those reflections and mission statement. And as you evolve, you may make changes and adjust and refine that as you go. So this is just designed to kind of help you to be a little bit more introspective, help you connect with your interests and values and aspirations. So you can take your own time. I went through this relatively quickly. But you can feel free to kind of mull over this for a while. You can set aside like some meditation time. Meditation is very good for getting to know yourself and just kind of seeing what comes up, what kind of thoughts come up as you're meditating. Um, yeah, hopefully this worksheet helps a little bit. And some other tips that can be helpful, as I did say, mindfulness and meditation, journaling. You can seek feedback from somebody that you trust. Just be careful who you seek feedback from because sometimes you can get feedback that's not useful. And so you do want to make sure you're focusing on people that you trust and who know who you really are and that can give you genuine feedback on that. You want to maybe explore some new hobbies or activities that might help you open up a new outlet of yourself. You want to set personal goals, reflect on past experiences, connecting with nature. That's something that's really big with me. Like I love animals. I like being outside. Actually allergic to everything. It's but birds for the most part. But I do like to view animals from a distance and like I said, just being out in nature, being out somewhere peaceful, be very calming. Counseling or coaching, practicing self-compassion. That's one that I need to do more often. Engaging in open and honest conversations like this one, and setting boundaries. And we're going to talk about all of these kinds of things in future episodes. But for today, we're just kind of doing an introduction and talking about authentic living and self-discovery and just kind of giving you an idea of what all of that's about. So we're going to wrap up here just in a second. I do encourage you to comment any questions or thoughts you may have. Um, and I'm really grateful that you guys took the time to check out my live stream and check out the handout. So, like I said, we did talk a lot about authentic living today, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about what did I have as I don't even know what if I have. Okay, what is my next week? We are looking to do unlocking authentic connections. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how to interact with other people next week. So it's about embracing vulnerability is going to be a focus. And I know that that's really hard. It's hard for everybody because evolution, evolution wise, we're kind of designed to be kind of protective and to defend. And it's not really necessarily useful in certain situations. It can actually hinder the building of close relationships. Well, that doesn't mean that you should just automatically be vulnerable with anyone, and we're going to talk about that more next week. But that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit more. Again, like I said, we'll be back at 3 p.m. next Saturday, Pacific Standard Time. So it'll be January 13th. And if you enjoyed this live stream, I encourage you to subscribe, like, and share it so more people can see it and be exposed to it and potentially be helped. I look forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you next week.